Hey, this is Liz from People I Think Are Cool, a bi-weekly podcast where I interview my favorite creatives from across the globe. If you're looking for a dose of creative inspiration, then go to peopleithinkarecool.com or subscribe to People I Think Are Cool on iTunes and Stitcher.
You like film, from cult to classic, from blockbuster to B-movies. And there just isn't that one place with all the fan fervor and passion that's covering the kind of mad, diverse brilliance that you love.
Well, that's where you're wrong.
AfterMovieDiner.com is that fan-built movie nirvana just for you, featuring the sweet, sweet writings of the wife dork herself. AfterMovieDiner.com. Go there. Be the best you can be.
You guys look like... What do they look like, Jimmy?
Dorks. They look like a couple of dorks.
Get those nerds! Nerds! Nerds!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What? Are you kidding? We got us some family here.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast, the official podcast of the Alamo Drafthouse, Winchester.
Welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast. Joining us is Brian Young.
God, I love being a turtle!
The Turtle Dork.
He looked me right into my eyes, and then he finished.
And also joining us is Lisa Gullickson.
Quick, suck it before the venom reaches my heart.
Wife Dork.
We don't want a perfectly good negligee to go to waste.
And also joining us is Brad Gullickson.
And for gosh sake, watch your language.
That's not going away anytime soon.
Mouth Dork.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
And I'm your host, Darren Smith.
Warm. Warmer. Disco.
The Disco Dork. I don't want to be like them. They want to be like me. And welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast.
We need to start the In the Mouth of Dorkness in bed game.
Oh.
After each quote, you have to say in bed in your head and see if it's funny.
Oh.
Dude, no, like, Brian killed me. That whole round, I had to reach into my soul and stop the laughter.
You did good.
Because I was trying not to look directly into Brian's eyes.
Oh, and finish.
We all do that, just for the sakes of our very souls.
Oh, man.
Don't look too deep in there.
2019, guys.
2019, first episode of
Is
the
this our
year.
first weekend Dork of the new year?
It is.
All right.
We survived our wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, 1-2 punch of the Not Top 10 and the Dorkies.
So now
That's
that's
right.
over. Now we're back to starting over again.
That was like
That's
10
like
hours of content.
Yeah, a 1-2-1-2 punch.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, between both, the not tops and the top. Yeah.
It was a good year.
Well, psychic high fives to any listeners who made it through all of those 4
Yeah.
episodes.
You're the real MVPs.
That's right.
How was everyone's first week in Dork of 2019?
Not too bad.
Yeah?
Actually saw a lot.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, I like how you're starting the year off. So what did you see?
Oh man. Saw Blockers. Saw Equalizer.
Dude, I just watched Blockers.
Yeah.
It's
So you
pretty good.
recognize my quote.
Yeah, that's where it's from.
I saw Equalizer 2, which wasn't as bad as you said, Darren.
It's not good, though, Brian.
I like it. Denzel can make anything,
bearable.
Yeah, he can. And I enjoyed it. I saw Life Itself.
Your favorite? Are you giving spoilers away for your top 10 of 2019? Oh shit! Son.
No.
No?
Yeah. So I think that's actually was probably all I saw.
It's only like 3 things. You said you saw a lot.
That's a lot for me.
Yeah,
Oh,
Brian,
okay.
That's a lot.
Okay.
He's kicking off the new year strong.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Not yet. But I'm gonna try to, like you say, Brad. I'm gonna try to kick the new year off and start watching a lot more for the month.
Yeah,
of January.
I like the new Brian.
We'll see how long this.
Oh damn! just
I know me.
I get up in the morning, and the first website I check is Letterboxd, and it's always nice when it's like, "Ooh, Brian's got a new review."
Yeah. That is good. Thank you, Brad, for checking that out.
I'm enjoying it. Hey, you're the guy I go to first on Letterboxd.
I appreciate that. I like The Mask, 3 stars. Nice.
Yeah, I saw The
hopefully
Mask.
I'm not spoiling.
Don't spoil my
anything.
weekend dork.
All right, sorry.
I'm not talking about The Mask in my weekend dork.
Okay.
I did watch it.
So I guess I'll talk a little bit about some of the films I saw. I'll start with. Let's get this out of the way. I'll start with Life Itself. Life Itself was a film that came out. I think the later part of last year.
I've heard nothing but terrible things.
Yeah, and this is directed by Dan Fogelman, who is the showrunner for This Is Us. And though This Is Us is a TV show that's on NBC, I don't really watch a lot of network television, so I'm not that familiar with the show. I know people love
really
Sterling.
popular,
Yeah, it's very popular, very, very popular. Sterling K. Brown is on the show. People love Sterling K. Brown. I like Sterling.
He's dope.
Yeah, he is. But Dan Fogelman, what he does with this movie, I could definitely see where his heart is in the right place, but it is completely misguided and completely off base. So it's kind of hard to even describe this film. So it's basically Oscar Isaac and Olivia Wilde play a couple, and Olivia Wilde is pregnant. And I'm trying to think if I want to spoil this movie.
It's in the.
Thanks,
Dear
Lisa.
Lord.
Thanks, Lisa. I didn't want to be the one.
I didn't
So
see the movie, but Brian is not as respectful about spoilers off the air.
Damn.
It happens in the first 15 minutes, though, right?
yeah, so she gets she's pregnant and gets hit by a bus. So I'm assuming they must have induced labor because they do have a child. But it basically kind of
Or it just got knocked right out.
Oh.
maybe, I don't know. They didn't show that.
How babies are born?
Maybe. But
Wasn't that funny, Lisa?
but the one of the theses about this movie is the fact that it focuses on the unreliable narrator in storytelling, and they're basically talking about how life itself is the biggest unreliable narrator.
How so?
Well, because you can't predict it. And I think that's the conceit of the movie, is that they're telling you that, life is unpredictable, I guess.
So a narrator is predicting stuff when he's narrating?
Well, I mean, if you look at movies like, what movies have the unreliable narrator? I mean, you look at something like American Beauty, maybe
Sixth Sense.
Usual Suspect.
I
Well,
relied
there's
on
no
all
there's
of
no narrator in The Sixth Sense.
Fight Club?
Is there no?
Fight Club, I think, can be unreliable.
There's no narration in The Sixth Sense?
No.
I haven't seen that movie in a while.
You're the unreliable narrator in the
Oh.
Sixth Sense, Brad.
That's a fact. I'm the unreliable narrator of this Dork Cave. That's for sure.
But I don't know. But I guess you can argue that as well, and maybe that this really has no place in this movie. But
Damn.
I mean,
Maybe it's not that life is an unreliable narrator, but rather it's just a really shitty
But
writer.
does the movie end with, who's the unreliable narrator? Life itself.
well, they actually say that in like the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Boom, there you go.
Damn.
Good movie.
But so the thing about it, so she gets hit by a bus. Oscar Isaac is seeing a therapist, Annette Bening. He ends up killing himself in front of his therapist by shooting himself in the head. So now their child,
Again, first 15 minutes of the
first
movie.
15 minutes. So now their child, played by Olivia Cook, is being raised by her grandparents, which her grandfather is Mandy Patinkin. I like him. I like him a lot, and they have some.
Sunny in the Park with George Francisco.
But also Alien Nation.
Yeah, George Francisco.
Oh, okay, man, yeah. And they have some really, really good scenes, but it's the type of thing where they're showing like different vantage points from different characters. So there's a child that's on the bus when Olivia Wilde gets hit, and so they tell the backstory of that child and his parents in Mexico that deals with the story with Antonio Banderas. So
El Mariachi?
kind of, sort of, but Mariachi with a beard, but and older.
And he has a guitar case full of guns.
It probably would have made the movie better. But so we deal with that whole story. Then we see when that child gets older, he runs into Olivia Cook. So it's just all about like these events that kind of lead people in the choices that we make. So I see where the movie wanted to go, but it just does not work in any which way. The movie starts off with the narration by Samuel L. Jackson. It has chapters, so it feels like Dan Fogelman is in love with Tarantino and his particular aesthetic of making films. But to do it within like this drama, and I say that with air quotes, just doesn't work in the way that Tarantino kind of tells his movies.
Sam Jackson is credited as Sam Jackson.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Because is he in the movie playing himself?
Yeah, he narrates like the first part when you see Annette Bening get hit by the bus.
But he's narrating it as Sam Jackson.
That's what he's saying. He's listed in the film.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
Yeah. But he's only in it for like that first 5 minutes, because when Annette Bening gets hit, Then it cuts to Sam Jackson on the bench on the side of the street, and he's like, oh man, what the fuck is this? He's like, man, this is too much. I'm out of here. And then he leaves.
Wait, he gets to drop the F-bomb?
He's an unreliable narrator because he left right in the beginning of the movie, right?
And he doesn't come back?
No, he doesn't come back.
That is unreliable.
That's nuts.
Weird.
Yeah, so the movie is trying to make a point. This movie is all over the place. It's a fascinating watch, though. So it's on Amazon.
You kind of sold me on it.
I thought I would because I was like, because once I told you how bad this movie is, I was like, Brad might actually try to check this one out because I gave it 1.5 stars.
It's on Amazon Prime, right?
Yeah, that's where I watched it. It's on Amazon Prime.
I guess I know what I'm going to bed to.
Oh no!
So that's Life Itself. Blockers. I really enjoyed that movie.
Really
funny, right?
It was
super funny.
It was really funny, and you were right. The chemistry between those girls, and oh man, whatever the actress is that played John Cena's daughter is hilarious. I want to see her do a lot more stuff. She was funny, and I mean, I like the whole story with Ike Barinholtz and his daughter, like him knowing that his daughter was gay, and then her trying to hide it, and thinking her friends would feel a certain way, but just the camaraderie of their friends, and even the chemistry between John Cena and Leslie Mann and Ike Barinholtz, all that stuff just really worked for me.
Cena doing comedy, that's what he's meant for.
That's where it's at.
Yeah.
That's where it's at for him. It works so well in that movie.
It feels like a modern idea where you look at someone and go, like, that guy has the muscles for comedy.
Yeah. I mean, he's like the logical extension of Channing Tatum's career.
Yeah, and I was thinking of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yeah. And I think, The Rock has kind of mentored him, or kind of helping him, as he makes his transition into cinema. And I think he does have great comedic sensibilities, and you can definitely see that on work. In this movie, Gary Cole and Gina Gershon. My God,
that scene in the kitchen, I was dying. Lisa was asleep, and I was having to stuff my laughter. So funny.
Oh my goodness, man! It was hilarious, but it definitely has a sweet story at the center of it that really, really worked.
There is some gross stuff in it, though.
There is. It's definitely not VF. It's not VF at all. But it has a sweet story at the center of it with some really good raunchy humor. So I think I will put that and Game Night as probably two of the best kind of studio comedies from last year.
I liked Blockers more.
Nah, I still go with Game Night. But those are probably two of the best studio comedies.
Nothing
I think, from
better
last
than
year.
Jesse Plemons.
Man, that movie, everything works for me in that one.
Good, yeah.
Everything works for me. I mean, it did. Blockers for me did kind of run a bit long.
I think Game Night's the better film, but the bigger laughs for me were in Blockers.
Okay, I could kind of see that. I'm gonna have to rewatch Game Night, but I could kind of see that because
I'm just saying that
because Blockers does have some greats.
Gina Gershon's fist clench.
Yeah, even like the end with Leslie Mann trying to escape the room.
Yeah. Very good.
That killed me. That was so good. So, and Equalizer 2, I enjoyed it.
Okay,
I enjoyed it.
Lisa,
man.
how was your weekend, Dork?
Give Denzel his props.
Shout out to Denzel for glory. Lisa, your weekend, Dork.
My weekend dork has been just straight garbage. I have watched nothing. No. I have done nothing. I have devolved to my basest Netflix self. I've gone full, not even rewatches. Like, there are certain types of shows that I find brainless and super comforting that are just embarrassing. So, since you saw me last, I watched an entire season of Skin Wars Fresh Paint. So this isn't even real Skin Wars. This is Skin Wars Fresh Paint. So have you heard of Skin Wars?
Mm-mm.
So Skin Wars is a body, you know how they do where they take a model, supermodel, and they paint her naked body so she looks like she's wearing clothes or she's fading into the background or she's a lizard now, whatever. Oh. So it's like that kind of thing. But they had 3 seasons of Skin Wars, hosted by Rebecca Romaine, who was Mystique.
Yeah.
And they had 3 seasons of that. And then RuPaul, who is also one of the mentors and judges, RuPaul Charles has spun off of Skin Wars to create Skin Wars Fresh Paint. So with Skin Wars Fresh Paint, they take 6 contestants, all of whom are artists in their own right, but in other mediums. Like they bring on graffiti artists or cake artists or tattoo artists, and they make them paint naked people. And then somebody wins, and RuPaul is there, and it's fun. So, like, I've been watching that. And then also, so it's like the creative competition shows. Yeah. Like Great British Bake Off, but I feel like of less substance.
Are you done with those? You ran through all the seasons?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, okay.
I really, really have. And I have run through all of the Netflix baking contests. So I've just had to weed off into other contests. But I always liked Top Chef and Project One Way and Face Off, which was the sci-fi monster makeup one. That one was super cool. But all I have left is watching people paint naked people. That's the last.
That's on Netflix?
Yeah, you can watch it too, and you can watch seasons 1 through 3. Maybe you'll have a favorite naked people painter. Like I like Rio. He's fun.
Oh, okay.
So I watched all of that, and then I also watched an entire season of Tidying Up with Marie Kondo.
Oh yeah, I just saw that the other day.
Yeah, so I actually read her. You wouldn't be able to tell by looking at this apartment, but I did. Though, if you looked at my closet, which you can't because the bedroom is messy, but if you looked at the actual closet, I did reorganize my closet.
You found your spark?
I kept the clothes that sparked joy, yes, and I donated like 6 bags of clothes. It was ridiculous how much clothes I still have. So yeah, Marie Kondo did the pop culture huge book, The Life-Changing Habits of Tidying Up. And it's the one where you go into your house and you go and you thank your objects and you unpack your purse and you pick up every item in your home and you ask yourself, does it spark joy? It's like that kind of thing. But I found it very cleansing to see people just better their lives through like a simple action. Yeah. So I've devoured that whole thing. I mean, I went to film club. They did Laurel and Hardy. Yeah. But it's been hard for me to I haven't had any mental space left. The holidays are a lot to get through, and then my birthday is right after that. And for some reason, 35, I know everybody in this room is over 35. 35 has been hitting me weirdly hard. So that was rough.
It seems so long ago.
I know, but men, they hit age 35 and then thit gets better. They start looking better, healthier.
Tell that to Brian and his those stones.
No, anyway. So, yeah. And then the situation with my niece. So those of you who have been following me or Brad or even at Modcast have seen these posts about my niece, Mars. She is 11 years old and brilliant artist, freaky talented artist. But she's been going through these horrible cycles with obsessive compulsive disorder to a degree that she can no longer function. So, a few months ago, over the summer, I actually went to Michigan to be with my sister's family because she was going in for her first hospitalization. And it was crazy. It was a crazy whirlwind, but because mental illness is hard for anybody. But with an 11-year-old girl who has the problems that Mars has, there's just not a place to put her. The issues that she has, self-harming, germophobia to an insane, I shouldn't use the word insane, but to
an extreme.
To this extreme that you cannot rationalize with. Suicidal ideation. an 11-year-old child who does not want to live. Like, there's just not a hospital for her in an emergency situation. So each time, as that was her first hospitalization, they spent over 36 hours in the emergency room waiting room to find a place to place her. And she was gone for like a week and a half. I stayed an extra 2 days so I could spend time with her, and she was sedated and twitchy, but like at that time we're like, onward and upward. We've been through the worst of it. All we have to do is just kind of hold on. And I went back to Virginia. Since then, she's had 2 more of these horrific hospitalization situations, and it's just gotten to the point where she can't go to school. She can't play with her sisters because
she hasn't gone to school in a long time.
She hasn't gone to school in a long time. Luckily, so originally she was in a private school because both my sister and her husband are both teachers at a private school. But luckily, they were able to put her into a public school because in a public school, you can get an IEP. And when you have an IEP, then you have advocates, you have state money to help make sure that you get an education and all of that stuff. So she transferred to a public school, which was right across the street, with the idea of we can slowly integrate her back to going to school. But that did not happen. So now they're trying to find something. They can't keep her at home anymore. Her self-harming has gone just crazy. She has hundreds of cuts all over her body. She can't leave her room. She plays with her little sisters through the door because she still loves her family, but she can't be with them. On Christmas morning, and you'll see all of this if you follow
the GoFundMe
page. But Christmas morning, she really wanted to be with her family. So she came downstairs, but she sat on the opposite side of the room from everybody. She had to put on 2 face masks so that she wasn't breathing anybody else's air. And she was hyperventilating the whole time. She could not handle it. So finally, after working so hard to stabilize her, they have found a facility in Wisconsin a residential facility so that she can get the hands-on constant care that she needs. Because this cycle of sending her to a mental hospital and sending her home on a repeated basis has just caused her to dip lower and lower and lower. And they're just tired of this cycle. So they found this facility in Wisconsin, and it costs $30,000 a month to keep her there until she's at a place where she can stabilize and hopefully send her home. But they don't want to risk sending her home too early because of this cycle. And now for the time being, and they have advocates, like I said, from the public schools working on this, but for the time being, the insurance doesn't want to cover it because it's out of state. So it's Blue Cross Blue Shield Michigan. And so what they've applied for is called it like coverage gap exemption, because in Michigan, there is no residential facility that treats children with OCD and anxiety. It just doesn't exist in Michigan. If it had existed in Michigan, they would have found it. And so they're going for that coverage gap exemption, but there's still so many other expenses that go along with traveling to Wisconsin, having a place for my sister and her husband to stay while they're there, covering, they both, on top of being teachers, they both have second jobs where if they don't do those jobs, they do not get paid. Like, so there's a loss of income. There is childcare while they're gone. And of course, you know, insurance never covers all of anything. So my brother-in-law, the father, Ron, has started a GoFundMe, and it's been amazing to me watching. So when they put the fundraiser up, they had a $40,000 goal, which odds are not cover the entire ordeal, but it's a start, and it was what they thought was the least they needed to stay afloat. And in just 7 days, they've raised over $20,000 from just 203 people.
Almost $22,000.
Yeah, and that's from friends and family of theirs, but it's also friends and family of mine, friends and family of the podcast.
There's lots of anonymous donors, and in fact, like just earlier today, we had an anonymous donation of $500.
Yeah, so people, and it's not really like the amount that people give that's important. I just think about my sister, who is, both her and her husband work. She has 3 other kids, and mental illness is so misunderstood, you know, and I feel like my sister has felt really alone in trying to cope with a daughter like Mars, with a child like Mars, because what parents can really identify with what she's going through. So I think just seeing the number of names and the number of donations that they're getting, I think that helps my sister a lot, and helps Ron a lot, to feel less alone in this situation.
And for those that are listening, if you go to the ItModcast Facebook page, you can find a link to the GoFundMe. You can also go to our Twitter at ItModcast, and you'll see several links shared there to the GoFundMe page as well.
Yeah, and you know, this is not a cry for money. I mean, you know, it is, and if you have to donate, like,
if you have the spare money, please donate. But even if you don't, please share, because what we've seen is, in sharing it on Facebook and Twitter and what have you, it has, you know, garnered some attention and brought in money. And it's, I was like high-fiving over that anonymous $500 donation, but it's these 25 tens that add up.
But when I think about it in context of like what Weeks in Dork are all about, like what has your passion this week, this situation with Mars, and the generosity that I have seen from all kinds of people, anonymous people, my friends who have never met Mars, listeners, it's what has my passion this week. And it's a crime that it's going to cost, perhaps, you know, it's going to cost a family $30,000 a month to keep their child alive. Like, that is so cold and so heartless. And the fact that an institution who you've been paying money to says, well, I'm sorry, you don't deserve the insurance because of the option that you're taking to keep your child alive. I think that is some cold shit. But seeing the generosity from all of these people, seeing, you know, what my sister and her husband and their extended family do every day to make sure that Mars grows into the artist that she is meant to become. This isn't like, it's an investment in her future, but it's an investment in our future. Because kids like Mars grow up to be the coolest funnest, most creative, most beautiful, most generous people because they have been there. And it's so sad to say, like, that an 11-year-old girl has been there, but she has. So anyway,
yay.
I'm done. Thank you. That was my week in dork. Now Brad can talk about bullshit.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Hard to follow that. I just echo everything that Lisa has said. And, in a year that has been so hard for so many people, to see 207 individuals come together for this one child has been a lot. And, it's so easy to be pessimistic and go like, God damn Trump in office. Oh my God. What did this jerk say today? What did he tweet? The wall is coming. I want to murder you. But not focusing on that and focusing on all this generosity that we've been seeing this week. It's very emotional and uplifting. So thank you for that. But let's talk about how great a week in dork I had, because boy, did I watch a lot of movies. 2018 ended the last film of the year that I watched on New Year's Eve rather than going out and celebrating the dropping of the ball. Lisa and I decided to watch a classic. Because like with the Dorkies, you're cramming all these movies, all these 2018 films. Like December is like, I have no time for anything that did not come out in 2018. Yeah. So you're just like, I got to get Blockers in there. They say it's the best comedy. I got to get, Life Itself in there. Oh, poor Brian. And so once the Dorkies were recorded, I was like, I don't want to watch any contemporary cinema for quite some time. And I decided, let's go black and white. I want to watch some classics, some films I've never seen before. Time to get back on board with the AFI list that Paul Scheer and Amy Nicholson are doing with Unspooled. And the episode I'm on is all about Eve, the Bette Davis classic. So I knocked that out. Lisa watched it with me. We both really enjoyed All About Eve.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing dialogue. Then the first film of the new year that we watched was another Bette Davis one that also has Joan Crawford in it. Another movie I hadn't seen before, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. That movie's nuts.
Yeah.
Great, weird, but nuts. I would say like the first half is amazing. Like for the first half of this movie, I was like, oh, this is one of my all-time favorite movies. This is a brilliant piece. It starts to drag a little bit towards the end, and I don't know if I found the ending terribly satisfying, but certainly if you've not seen Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, you should check that out. And then suddenly I went from enjoying Bette Davis. Like, well, now I'm on a Joan Crawford kick. I'm a huge fan of Johnny Guitar. What other Joan Crawford movies have I never seen? And she did one with director William Castle, who directed a couple of my favorite Vincent Price movies, The Tingler, House on Haunted Hill. And he partnered with Robert Bloch, who wrote the novel that Psycho is based on. Yeah. And he wrote a screenplay for William Castle called Straightjacket, starring Joan Crawford. And the movie opens with this young girl stumbling out of sleep into her father's bedroom. And her dad is having sex with another woman who's not her mom.
Whoops.
Because mom's out of town. Well, mom comes home early. And daughter witnesses mom, witnesses husband in I want to say that
coitus?
Coitus. That's not the phrase I'm thinking of. And now what's the
I don't know.
Oh, damn it. Anyway, they're boning. Yeah. And Joan Crawford loses her mind, grabs an axe, and chops them both up.
In flagrante delicto.
That's the phrase.
Thanks,
what?
Google.
Yeah.
It's an adverb.
And chops them up in front of the daughter. The daughter witnesses this little young girl. You see her going like, oh, as Joan Crawford just hack, 40 whacks. Of course, it doesn't work out so well for Joan Crawford. She has to go to an asylum for 20 some odd years. And the daughter grows up to be... Diane Baker, who's from The Silence of the Lambs. She's the governor who goes to like Professor X. Not Professor X, Dr. Lecter.
Yeah.
I've been reading a lot of comics this week also. Anyway, so Diane Baker is really excited to get her mom back. She's actually just gotten engaged to this man who's from a rich, well-to-do family. And Joan Crawford comes back and learns, oh, you're getting married. I don't know. Are you rushing into things? And she's like, don't worry about it, Mom. Look, I've saved all your old clothes. And I think we should go wig shopping and get your old wig so you can look just like you did back in the day. And here's your necklaces and your bracelets that you used to love. And like, it's like no time passed at all, Mom. Don't worry about it. And she's like, I don't know about this. Okay. But I want to please my daughter. So I'm going to dress like I used to, put the old makeup on. And she looks like she did 20 years ago. And then suddenly people start getting murdered all around town. And not so much all around town, all around her house.
Yeah.
By axe. And you're like, oh gosh, Joan Crawford's broken again. You know, too bad. This daughter's going to be real upset. I don't know if this marriage is going to work out.
I don't think that's what's happening. Though.
No, that's not what's happening. And I'm going to spoil a movie that came out in 1964.
Can I take a guess?
Yeah, sure.
Well, seeing her mom do that crazy shit made her do the crazy shit as an
Yeah,
adult.
yeah,
that's
Jared,
it.
good
Yeah,
one.
yeah. That is exactly what goes
Do
on.
they have an axe fight at the end? Like, I'm going to be the craziest in this family.
No.
Fuck.
This is the ending. Is Joan Crawford comes back and she finds the body of her, I guess, her possible future brother-in-law's dad.
Yeah.
In the closet of his house.
Jesus.
And she's like, oh my God, what is going on? And then the future mother-in-law, potential mother-in-law, certainly they're not going to get married now.
Probably
but,
not. That's a deal breaker.
Yeah, total deal breaker. Axe murders shatter all engagements. And she thinks Joan Crawford's lost it. And then bursting out of the closet comes the daughter wearing a wax Joan Crawford mask.
That looks uncanny. It's close enough to go like, is that Joan Crawford? That's not Joan Crawford.
Was it Joan Crawford?
I knew it was going to be.
No, it was a mask.
It was the
It was daughter in
daughter
a mask.
wearing a wax mask. It's like a slasher film mask, but that's of Joan Crawford's face with like the crazy eyebrows and the crazy wig.
Yeah, and then when like the mother like rips it off her face, like she sticks her finger in the like neck chin and like pulls it out
and pops it off. And it really does feel like the reveal at the end of Psycho. And guess what? I'm going to spoil Psycho if you haven't seen that movie.
No.
That came out in 1960, 4 years before this film. So I feel like there's definitely like some homaging going on. But you know, like when Norman Bates comes out and he's in the dress, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, like it felt like this, even though you knew it was going to happen. Just seeing the imagery of this daughter wearing this wax mask of Joan Crawford was terrifying and just really entertaining. And I didn't mention, but the daughter is a sculptor, or as she says, I'm a sculptress.
Yeah.
She makes a point
She
of being
corrects
a
her mother.
sculptress.
I'm a sculptress.
So this sculptress has been planning this for a long, long time. And I guess she's been cracked because she saw all this horrible death when she was a child.
Right. And she sees like her engagement to this guy like not necessarily going her way. And so she wants to
end it through axe murder.
Yeah, well, get rid of all the impediments for her having the life that
But
she
she
wanted.
also clearly wants to blame her mom because
Right.
what you discover is like these voices that Joan Crawford's been hearing throughout the movie have been little audio tapes that her daughter's been planting around the rooms. Yeah, you're like, what? Okay, that's elaborate. And it has this ending where where Joan Crawford is explained to the guy who's not George Kennedy in this movie, although George Kennedy is in the film. I can't remember what his name is. But like at the end of Psycho where like the psychologist comes in and explains why the person did what they did.
Yeah.
Joan Crawford plays that role and says, look, this is why my daughter did this thing. It's unfortunate. She's got to go to the crazy house. I was in the crazy house. I survived. Maybe she'll survive too. The end.
Jeez. Damn.
It was a wild movie. I really enjoyed it. Again, sort of like Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. The first half of the movie, I'm going, this is amazing. And the ending is amazing, but the film does drag a little bit. But yeah, so if you may or may not have seen All About Eve, you may or may not have seen Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, you probably have never seen Straightjacket. I rented it for, I think, $2.99 on Amazon. Well worth the $3.
I second that.
Yeah.
I was going to do my weekend dork on that, but Brad's like, I got it. You got to think of something sad.
No, that's not at all what happened. We did not have that conversation. I was like, I'm going to have a conversation about how The Mask is still hilarious.
Jim Carrey's The Mask?
Yeah, I watched that the other day.
Stanley
I gave it 3 stars because it's really shoddily put together.
Huh.
I mean, it looks of its age, but I like the CG stuff too. But Carrey in the makeup is still quite a sight, and I quite enjoyed it. Cameron Diaz, I think it's the first time,
first acting role.
Yes, and you know, some of the stuff around her might not hold up in 2018 light, but I really like their pairing of Cameron Diaz and Jim Carrey. I think they work well together, especially again when he's like Cuban Pete the Mask.
Yeah.
I like all that stuff. So yeah.
The Mask.
And then, yeah, like I said, I've read a bunch of comic books. I just gave Darren a whole stack of The Immortal Hulk. I really enjoyed it, but I have like thoughts, and I want to talk to somebody about it, and I want to talk to like our resident Hulk fan. Yes. So,
all right, I'm looking forward to diving into these. All right, that's it. That's all you
yeah,
got
that's
for
my
your
weekend dork.
For my weekend dork, I ended the year, if I'm not mistaken, it was New Year's night. Maybe it was New Year's Eve. But I think I watched Hot Summer Nights, that Timothy.
Oh, Chalamet thing?
Yeah, with Micah Monroe.
Oh yeah.
I kind of dug that movie.
Oh, cool.
I kind of dug that movie.
I like the Chalamet.
Yeah, he's a different character in this than he is in his other films. But yeah, I kind of dug the movie. The first movie I think I ended up watching of 2019 was a rewatch actually of The Night Comes for Us. I've actually seen that twice now since
the new year.
Yeah, I watched it again yesterday with somebody for the first time.
Movie's great.
I watched Harlem Nights on friggin' Amazon. I watched. I just bought Elizabeth Harvest since we did our.
So I
I
saw your Instagram.
And I actually bought Infinity War on the 4K disc because I had not purchased the physical media for that yet, and watching that on the TV, oh my gosh! But what I do want to talk about is I also saw Escape Room. I did an escape room last night, the Friday the 13th themed escape room in Georgetown.
Was that cool?
It was pretty cool. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And
we should do a dork escape room.
We should. We should. Yeah, we should try it. We should do it.
I think that Darren and Brian and Lisa could do an escape room. You would get frustrated. Brad would be he would be very frustrated.
But that's why I got you guys.
It's funny, right? I did the escape room, the experience first. I did that last night, but today I went and saw the film. And how, like, if I had not done the escape room, watching the movie and seeing how the people interacted in the movie, trying to figure out stuff in the room and stuff like that, I probably would have been like, either this is far-fetched or this is like movie, this is the script. But like that shit was like that in the room for real.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man. It was so funny, like drawing parallels, like how everyone, you got these two people over here who are like they're thinking overtime, and you got another motherfucker over here going, I have a handle in my hand, which was me. I got this wrench over here. And then there's the character in the movie who she would just know like where to go. And there was a guy with us who he would just know like, all right, we gotta do this, we gotta do that, we gotta do that. So like all of it was very similar to my experience. So I thought that was pretty funny. While watching the movie. Anyway, a large part of my time outside of watching all these movies is I've been playing the Spider-Man game on the PS4.
Yeah, and then like taking screen caps and sending them to me and going like, Brad, why don't you have a PS4? This is so cool. You're so loser.
This freaking game, man, it's so much fun. All right, so like it's an open world game in that you're in New York City. And you have story missions littered about the city. But then also littered about the city are these side missions. And there are a bunch of them, right? The game is designed so well as far as the recreation of New York City. But more importantly, the game mechanic of Spider-Man, his web slinging, swinging through the city. I don't know of any other. There is no other game that has translated his traversal in video game form like this. I mean, to the point where I don't mind doing all of these random side missions, swinging across from one end of New York to the other, because swinging is so damn fun. Like the way that they animate and convey a sense of weight to him. So when he is at the lowest point of the swing and he pulls himself up, the inertia, all of it, it feels like when he shoots out a web and pulls in another direction to change momentum quickly, like you feel the shift in weight. There's a weight to him. There's a sense of speed, and there's a sense of gracefulness. Like, and it's all really intuitive. Like once you the learning curve is very short for getting a hang of him swinging, because you could just randomly just keep pressing the R2 button, which throws out the web, but there is an art to knowing. Okay, so you shoot out the web, it attaches to something. Spider-Man swings down, and then at the lowest point, he pulls himself up and he swings upward. Well, if you're just randomly mashing the button, he'll throw out another web and he'll keep going. But if you wait to the apex of that his swing up, and then you hit it again, he pulls out. He shoots out another web and pulls even harder. So your next swing goes even faster. So you pick up speed. There's a method where I don't even have to shoot out a web and swing on something. I can shoot out 2 webs, pull myself to a certain point, and right as I hit that point, press the X button, and it catapults him like even further. And you can just chain those moves together and never swing out. But I'm telling you, the sensation, I've jumped off of the Avengers Tower from the very top of the event. That's in the game as well.
Fun.
It's cool when you swing through New York City and you see the Sanctum Sanctorum there, or you go to the... So there's one part where I was stopping some bad guys who had robbed the armored truck. And when I was done, the action sequence took place at an intersection in the city. So when I was done, I looked to my left. I don't know if it's the exact same church, but it looks like the exact same church in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where Miles goes to the grave of Peter Parker, and then the other Peter walks up behind him. I'm telling you, it was right there. Like, it was there. It was that. And only thing is, like, there wasn't like a train like right next to it like it was in the movie. But so it's going throughout the city, seeing the Avengers Tower, and if you see it in the city, you can go to that, and because it's Spider-Man, he can climb on anything. He can climb, like Spider climb up the walls, or you hold down the R2 button and he just runs up the walls if you don't want to, take your time. And then the story, excuse me. The story picks up. This Peter Parker is, he and Mary Jane are not together at this point. She's doing some reporting or investigative work, and throughout the narrative, they kind of come back together and reacquaint each other, and maybe see if there's something more to their friendship. That's the I posted a little Stan Lee cameo that it was from a moment where you can see him kind of trying to work through some stuff. And I'm only like 50% through the game, but the way that the narrative is told, at the halfway point, I've already met up with Officer Davis, just Officer Davis, and I've done a few side missions with and for him. In the narrative, something happens. Well, I'm gonna spoil it. In the narrative, something happens to him, and that's when you get introduced to Miles Morales. And I tell you, the way the game works is it's really focused on Peter. There's an earlier part when MJ is introduced. You take control of her, and you have like a stealth mission. You're trying to get some information in a museum, so you don't really do any combat stuff with MJ. Same thing with Miles. When this situation happens with his dad, there's a segment where you have to navigate. There's some burning wreckage and stuff. You have to navigate that, but you're Miles pre-Spider Bite, so you don't get to do any like Miles Morales Spider-Man stuff. But because of Into the Spider-Verse, his introduction, and also his dad, like Officer Davis, when they're introduced, I get like really, really excited. And then when that gameplay moment happens where you take over Miles, I'm aware that, okay, this is pre-Spider Bite, and I can only traverse this terrain and get to his dad. But I tell you, like, knowing what's coming for him, because of it's really because of Into the Spider-Verse. I just want I just want that Miles in the game. It's not him. It's not that Miles, but that's the first thing. It's distracting. Like I want that Miles in the game. But secondly, knowing it's almost like Into the Spider-Verse was this Miles's backstory or forward story or whatever. I just know what's coming from, and it just made me anticipate. It genuinely feels like, yes, we're going to introduce this character in this game. You're not going to get to play any Spider-Man stuff because it's pre-Spider-Bite. But if you hold on to the next video game, I guarantee you, with the success of Into the Spider-Verse, Insomnia, which is the game studio who developed this, I guarantee you the next game, the sequel, if it's not centered specifically around Miles Morales, he will be a huge component where you can play as him. Because as far as like the narrative possibilities go, they're totally unexplored because we're just introduced to this character in this game. But I just had to say, like, outside of loving the game on its own, I don't think that there has been another superhero game that perfectly encapsulates or it captures everything about the superhero and has you translate so well to you playing that. And I say that and the Arkham Batman games are
I love those.
Probably the closest. They're probably the closest. But I would say just from, so obviously Peter Parker and Spider-Man are known for his quips and, his quick thinking and things like that. So one of the things that they have in the game that has Peter constantly able to have some type of dialogue, that way his character can develop, is there's an officer on the police force, Detective Yuri. And so she's kind of unofficially working with him. Hey, I got an anonymous tip. There's some things going on this side of the town. There's this bank that might be getting robbed. I don't have a warrant for probable cause, but, figured you could go. And so, Spider-Man gets a lot of his missions through that, and a lot of the main narrative is told in conjunction with her. But also just throughout the city, like when you're just farting around, just enjoying your webbing and stuff like that, he'll speak to her, she'll radio in. So Peter has something to do and something to say that further and grows that character in your mind. So you're not just playing the same Peter Parker at the beginning of the game as you are at the end of the game. Like through his dialogue and things that have happened with her and stuff that she's dealing with and missions that you go on in conjunction with her, it just builds his character. So there's character building even when you're just swinging through the city, farting around and stuff like that. And then the stuff with Aunt May and there's a guy, Mr. Lin. So I guess is there a I want to say Negative Man?
Yeah.
Negative Man.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's in it. I think he's like one of the main guys. Oh, and then Kingpin, Brian. So the opening act of the game, basically what happens is in the opening act of the game, Kingpin is doing his Kingpin thing, and Spider-Man's like, all right, look, I got to take you down once and for all and get you off the streets. And that happens. But because Kingpin is away, now all the crime in New York is sort of unregulated and all turfs are like up for grabs. So like everything escalates with Kingpin away. So from low level like muggings and stuff, because you'll get, you'll pick up stuff on a police scanner, reporting, calling all cars, available units. We have a robbery in progress, and you can choose to go stop that robbery. But because Kingpin's away, all the crime in New York happens to escalate, and other bad guys come in, and that's how you deal with them. Dr. Otto Octavius is in the game, and in the game he is he has that mentor relationship with Peter, and you can see where that's going, but the way that they have him interact, he finds out Peter is quote unquote making costumes for Spider-Man. He walks in, and when Peter's re-rigging one of his older, because it got destroyed, and he walks in when it happens, he goes, oh, I should have known. Peter thinks, oh shit, my cover's blown. But Dr. Ock, he just thinks, oh, you're the guy who makes his costumes. I can see that because you're smart, you're brilliant, because Peter works in a lab with him. So he's like, okay, all right, your secret's safe with me. And then when Peter wakes up, he's like, yo, I saw you doing some design work. I took the liberty of enhancing your suit for you. So like his suits and then there are Easter eggs in the game where you complete certain things, you get unlock more suits, and every suit that Spider-Man has ever worn in a comic is unlockable in the game. So that's another thing that I've been unlocking is all those suits, and some of them have power, some of them don't. Like I got the Noir Spider-Man and seeing Into the Spider-Verse now so soon made me really happy about that. So I don't know, it's just a badass game, man. Like it's a badass game. I'm gonna have to bring my PS4 over, Brad, so you can at least see it and play it, because it's just so much fun, man. But yeah, that's what I've been doing for my weekend dork. Yeah, we don't have a review cast this week because no one really thought Escape Room was going to be that great. Well, guess what? You're lost.
Should we do the Escape Room review cast next week?
No, it was fine. The movie was what the trailer was selling. Like,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's not great. It feels like they're trying to start like a new. It feels like the teen version of Saw. Like they're trying to start a new franchise with it. With the way
I thought about the Cube when I saw it.
This movie is not as good as Cube. Cube, I really like Cube.
I love Cube.
I really like that movie.
I like Cube, and I think I like Cube Zero. One of the sequels I'm a fan of.
I like the second one. What about Hypercube?
I don't think I like that one. I can't remember.
That's the one when shit got like really, really weird. But
remember.
the first two are great.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that's gonna do it for my week in Dork. What are you looking forward to this week, Brian? The dog's journey, a dog's life.
No, nothing really.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Slow week.
Yeah.
Catching up.
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything because then you guys gonna hold me to it.
Yes,
so
say it.
No,
you got this. You can't. You have to say it now by saying that. Say it.
No, I have
yes,
to.
you do. Say it.
Why?
What is it?
What
are you gonna do?
Nothing.
Oh,
I
okay.
want to go to sleep.
Oh, all right. Well, Lisa, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to getting out of my slump, pulling myself up by my bootstraps.
Yeah.
And watching season 2 of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Because I've been putting it off. It's been out there. I've finished Netflix.
The whole thing?
I saw Netflix. So
you've got an awesome marathon coming up, though.
Oh, yeah.
That Brian may or may not be coming to.
Yep. Next Saturday, we're doing the Trip Feach.
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
We know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
Satisfied.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. At the Alamo Drafthouse, One Loudon, and around, they're having the triple feature ending with Glass. So Unbroken.
Unbreakable,
whatever.
Unbroken would be a weird
Split.
triple feature.
Yeah.
I'm doing my own programming. Split and Glass.
Yes.
All in one day. Yes. Glass a week early. We live in a magical time.
We do.
We really do.
We do.
It's nice to be like in January and already excited about a movie.
I know.
All right. What about you, B?
Let's see. So I didn't say this in my Weekend Dork, but I had a chance to watch the new Catherine Waterston thriller, State Like Sleep, which also has Luke Evans and Michael Shannon in it. It looks like a basic kind of like a run-of-the-mill thriller. Her husband several years ago supposedly killed himself, and now something happens that throws that suicide into question. And her husband's played by the main character from The Haunting of Hill House, the main son in that. Anyway, I can't remember what his name is. But the what I'm looking forward to is I had the opportunity to interview Michael Shannon for Film School Rejects, and I got to say, it was a pretty great conversation. It starts off, Brad, he just wants to know about Michael Shannon's process, and Michael Shannon doesn't have a process, Brad, so stop asking him questions about his process. You got to leave that to the subconscious, Brad. Okay, Michael Shannon, that's fine. I'll stop pestering you about that. Let's talk about how you hate making movies and television. You want to return to the stage. That's the gist. It's actually a lot of fun, this interview.
Yeah.
He's very honest and forthcoming, and he has a little fun with me. And it's like a real great way to kick the year off at Film School Rejects.
Yeah.
So.
He was so uplifted by that conversation, and he was so anxious going into it. I wish we had taken a picture like before talking to him.
Yeah, well, because like I did a Ron Perlman interview.
Yeah.
One of the last interviews I did last year was with Ron Perlman, and it was fine. But I didn't come away from that interview best friends with Ron Perlman, who, of course, I want to be best friends with Ron Perlman. Why aren't we best friends now?
Yeah.
And this one, he called me sweet. Shannon was very kind. He mentioned me by name several times. I felt like we're BFFs now. So I was
Michael Shannon hitting on my husband?
A little bit.
Back off, Shannon! Because I know that Brad would leave me in a second for a Shannon.
I'm joking. I'm not joking about how I was a little defeated after the Ron Perlman. That happened. That was real. Michael Shannon was super cool to talk to. I think it's a really good interview. It's a lot of fun. And I thought State Like Sleep was pretty darn good. It's, dumped on VOD, but it deserves a little more love. So if you're looking for something to rent, because you can't see glass this weekend, Brian.
You could. If you wanted to.
I'd recommend it. I'd recommend it.
He's got to make that money, honey.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's about that cheddar.
Okay.
Cheddar Goblin.
Also, before I talk about what I'm looking forward to this week, I also forgot. For some reason, I end up watching Neon Demon again.
Oh.
You know what? I watched it in 4K too. Neon Demon is like it's like an abstract piece of art, like in the Hirshhorn Museum downtown. Like I'll look at it and I go, oh my gosh, like I'm captivated by what I'm seeing, but I don't know what this artist is trying to say with this. But I like the way it looks, though. I enjoy the craftsmanship in it. I enjoy the fact that it's making me feel something. I don't know what I'm supposed to be feeling or what I'm feeling exactly, but that's how I felt about Neon Demon. Like, I'm watching it again, and I'm still like, okay, what does this mean? What is he trying to say with this? But goddamn, this looks amazing. Like, the cinematography is nuts.
Yeah, it's a pretty looking movie.
But as far as themes and stuff like that, I don't, you know, and I wasn't even trying to figure the shit out. I was just like letting it wash over me, and I was just in love with the visuals, and it made me think, and it's making me think about. You talk about Michael Shannon. What's your process? Just cinematographers, not even just cinematographers, but also photographers. So like the main photographer guy that's in the film that everyone covets with the black T-shirt guy, like. Even whether it's in the movie or the guy that he's based on, like, what is his process when he is composing those shots? When he's saying, I want you to wear these particular glasses, I want this particular body paint on you with these red lights, like, why? Against the backdrop of a blue sky, like, what? I'm very interested in the thought process of people who create in that space.
Well, Michael Shannon would tell you it's in the subconscious, and he hates talking about it.
Oh, all right. I would never ask him about that. But anyway, like Lisa said, I'm looking forward to this M. Night Shyamalan triple feature. I have neglected to go back and watch Unbreakable ever since I saw Split. Like I've been meaning to and have been wanting to, but I've been waiting for, I guess, the right time. And this is perfect. This is really perfect. And I'm trying to think when the last time I've seen Split. It might not. I don't think I've watched it since we saw it in the theaters because I didn't get it on home video.
I watched it once at home. And I rewatched Unbreakable, and it's a great movie.
So I'm looking forward to all three of those back to back.
I really hope Glass is good.
It's gonna be good, man. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I don't know because
it's a lot to live like.
It is.
It's a lot to live up to.
It is to bring back a movie that's beloved by everybody, like 18 some odd years later, and I mean people were kind of mixed on Split. But I think a lot of the good reception comes from that reveal at the end.
Sure.
I like Split. Actually,
I like Split too.
I like Split 3.
I like Split 4.
So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. But M. Night, I mean, he's kind of got full of himself around the beginning of his career. But following him on Twitter, he seems to be real humble. And I don't know. He seems to be real gracious about having this opportunity.
I don't care if he's gracious or not. I want a good movie.
Me too. I'm looking at the whole picture as far as like, how he approached film when he first started, thinking he was like the next big thing and being full of himself, and now looking at him. So I want to say that he's going to put out something, and he knows how precious these characters are to a lot of fans. So I'm hoping, man.
For me, Split gives me every confidence in that he had, like you said, he had to have some type of reckoning with himself prior to making that movie to be able to come back and say, all right, let me focus on the stuff I need to focus on. Let me just tell a good story. And I think even if you take out the reveal at the end of Split, I think it's a really good thriller.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good. And then the fact that he was able to be as creative with it and where it takes place in a larger universe, a universe that obviously he has thought out, just means that these are characters that he's thought about and lived with for a while, and I don't see him as a filmmaker putting out something subpar with something that he's put so much thought and time and effort to with these characters. And
fingers crossed.
And I don't know. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, I think the expectations are super high now because of what we know
It's just I love Unbreakable so much.
Yeah,
and I
me
like
too.
Split a lot. And I love the reveal at the end of Split. But I love Unbreakable.
But there was no expectations going into Split because we didn't know what was. But now that we do, there's a lot more expectation.
I'm just excited to sit down in the theater and watch 3 movies back to back.
It'd be cool. Yeah, it'd be cool to see that.
I just want to see how he's gonna wrap it up. Like that's all I care about. My only expectation is I just want to enjoy it as much as I enjoy Split. And I'm not even talking about like the reveal. I'm talking about like throughout that movie, like the ups and downs, like the suspense and things like that. If Split can hold me in that way, I'll be happy. I'll be happy. But I got a feeling that he's gonna do something different with it.
Yeah.
So, and I appreciate that. Anyway, that's what we're looking forward to this week, ladies and
I feel
gentlemen.
like saying that the audience is mixed about Split is a missed opportunity.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Well, now you said it.
Because you should say the audience is split on Split.
Yeah, I got it.
Darren needed it.
Oh, sorry. The audience is split on Split.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Itmod's not.
Yeah. We're unbreakable. And our love for Split.
Okay.
See what I did there?
I'm made of glass.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
They
you can
call
follow-
me Mr. Glass. Wait.
That's
Mr. Tibbs.
Tibbs. Yeah. You can follow the podcast at ItModcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can follow Brian at the Turtle Dork on Twitter, at the Turtle Dork 1 on Instagram, and at Brian William Young on Facebook. Lisa Gullickson is at Sidewalk Siren and at Baked Dork on Twitter and Instagram. She's also at Sidewalk Siren on Letterboxd. Brad Gullickson is at Mouth Dork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, and Untapped. Billy Das is at WB Das on Twitter and Instagram, and I am Darren Smith, the Disco Dork, on all social medias. I'm eating pistachios, walnuts, and cashews.
Those are pecans.
Pecans. Sorry, I don't even know what I'm eating, but I'm eating them. And I have to tell you, Lisa, you know what? This is my first new food of 2019, the pistachios. You have gotten me to eat more new foods, I would say, within the last year than anyone has ever had my entire life. Seriously.
I feel honored, and also, what kind of upbringing do you have where you don't munch a pistachio every once in a while?
When people offer, I just tell them no. Tell them I'm allergic. So, but yeah.
Pistachios are great.
Pistachios are great.
They are.
Favorite ice cream.
That's going to do it for us. Thank you all for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week. Be on the lookout for our fistful of anticipation. So our top 5 films we're looking forward to this year.
Yeah.
2019? All right. I'm looking forward to that list.
Me too.
All right. That's going to do it for us. Thank you all for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week. And until next time.